I'd like to share this both with myself in the future and to other people, because I think it was such a special moment and a moment that I can learn from and others can learn from. Yesterday, I experienced the moment when my consciousness turned on and I actually started to dive into Hashem. I was astonished with how quickly a problem was solved that wasn't being solved until I opened up my mouth and started to talk to the creator of the universe. I'd like to share you the background. I would like to share with you the background behind this, and hopefully you'll enjoy the story, the experience. It's more than a story. About a year and a half ago, I purchased a car, a 2008 Dodge Caravan. I was, so to speak, swindled into thinking this was a good car for me. Unfortunately, in many senses, it has provided me with multiple frustrations. It cost way more, ended up costing way more than the person that I was purchasing it from made me feel like it was going to be. There were multiple problems with it when it was given to me that I wasn't told about. One of those problems was that there was a line that was going into the car that had a leak and made the car smell terrible whenever I used the heat or the air conditioning. And it took some time to figure out what the problem was. Thank God I ended up running into some people in the neighborhood that fixed cars, and after a long time, it was fixed. The problem was finally identified. Once that got fixed, my air conditioning wasn't working. So I did the things that people would tell me that I needed to do, and it still wasn't working. It made like the tiniest little difference. Really no difference at all. Last summer when I was driving the van, I took my family out to Chicago. It was a hot day. It was unbearable. It was almost unbearable. We had to stop at a store before we came home just so that my kids could have their own mini fans in the car while we were driving. And as the summer was approaching this year, 90-degree weather, I was so uncomfortable in the car. I was sweating, and I thought to myself, this is not doable. We need to have air conditioning so that if we ever want to take this car on any sort of a drive, my family is going to be comfortable. 2 nights ago was the Bader Hill High graduation. And at the graduation was Troy, the old security guard of our school. Everyone in our school loves Troy. Pretty much always has a smile. He shows care towards us. He's an amazing guy. And we're talking to each other. And then eventually I said to him, I haven't resolved the problem with my air conditioner. And I knew that he knows about cars. He's involved in buying and selling cars. He's connected to different people. And I was like, but everyone that I talk to says you have to go to you got to go to Dodge, and it's going to cost me hundreds of dollars, if not over $1,000. And I was like, I really don't want to have to spend that, but I need air conditioning in my car. And he jumped on it right away, and he was like, nah, I can help you out. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I'll get you in touch with my guy. I was like, how much do you think it's going to cost, though? He was like, I don't know, maybe $90 or something like that. I was like, what, $90? He said, yeah, my guy take care of it. Just got to put in this piece and that piece, and it'll cost, a few dollars for the different pieces, and then only got to pay him a few dollars for fixing it. I was like, wow, okay. All right, I'll give you a call tomorrow. So the next day I checked in with Troy to see if he spoke to his guy, and his guy was sleeping. I guess he gets up late. Didn't end up reaching him until 4 o'clock. He drove over together with his friend, and he gets out of the car. It's not the person that I normally interact with. He was very, very, very skinny, and most probably at some point in his life, or maybe even now, has some sort of drug addiction, or maybe he's recovered from his drug addiction. I'm not sure. But it wasn't someone that I was used to interacting with. That's okay. I shook his hand and I said, you want to take a look? He said, yeah. And he's looking at it and he's trying to figure it out. He can't find the place where something having to the AC connects to something having to do with the electric. I don't know anything about cars. So I take out my computer and I try to help him out, try to figure out, where is this circuitry that you're looking for? We can't find it. Him, not his friend, none of us can find it. So eventually we find a diagram for where the wiring would be. And he says, all right, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bypass the wiring. And then once we bypass the wiring, I could put some sort of a switch in the car in order that you could turn your AC on. And I'm like, okay. I call up my brother-in-law. He's like, I don't know. I never heard of this, but I don't know what to tell you out there. So I don't know what to do. And he says, I see him now, he somehow pulls a wire out from under the hood. And he was like, you might need a wire like this, and then we'll bring it through the car. And we may need to buy a couple of new parts for the AC. And I'm like, okay, whatever you say, as long as it's going to work. So he's like, all right, I need a 9-volt battery. I went inside. I looked for it. I couldn't find one. Then I walk outside. I said, you know what? Probably a neighbor has one. I saw my next door neighbor, and I asked, hey there, do you have any 9-volt batteries? It was like a teenager. The teenager's like, I don't know, but I'll go inside and I'll look. And a few minutes later, the mother comes out and says, here's a 9-volt battery. You guys can have it. Don't worry about giving it back to me. I was like, are you sure? She said, yeah. So there was already 2 tefillos. We got Troy helping me out, my next door neighbor helping out with a 9-volt battery. And now this fellow is testing it. The whole thing already has taken, it's already around 2.5 hours. And I'm thinking to myself, is this going to work or not? Like, this is really a interesting event. And I'm kind of looking at the guy and I'm wondering, is he really going to be able to do this? And I'm taking Troy's word for, at face value that he's good at it. But what is going on here? And he says, okay. So he hooks up some sort of maybe like a volt reader, amp reader. And he's got that wire now, and he's touching things to the batteries and to certain places with the air conditioner. He puts me in the car, and he says, okay, turn on the car, turn the AC all the way up. And as I'm doing this, all of a sudden, I'm like, Avner, Daven to Hashem. Just Daven to Hashem, it's going to be fixed. And if Hashem wants to be fixed, it'll be fixed. So I started to focus my mind. And with all my heart, I said, Hashem, please fix my air conditioning. Help me out. Please, Hashem. And I'm telling you, within a few moments, he's looking for broken parts, right? And that need to be put in order for the AC to work. And I have my hand over the air conditioner. And I'm like, wait a second. Is this starting to work? He hadn't fixed anything. He was just testing for what parts are going to need to be put into the car. And then all of a sudden he says, all right. I'm like, what? He's like, it's working now. I was like, wait a second. What just happened? And he said to me, I don't know. I was just inside with the wiring, and I forgot the wording that he used. And he said that it just so happened to be that as he was checking for the parts that were broken, that there was some element, electric element, some maybe like a trigger or something like that, that had been closed somehow, had been blocked off somehow. And by him testing for whether or not the parts were broken, it ended up opening up that line. And he said that's all that was needed, that the air conditioner works now. I couldn't believe it. So he sent me off to the store to get some more Freon. I came back. He put it in, and now I have a working air conditioner. So what's the obvious beauty of this, as it's called one small tefillah, is that whether or not he was going to fix it by putting new parts in it, or it was, it was, so to speak, for him in his mind, it was a total mistake that he ended up fixing it by doing it the way that he did it. It's not what he was looking for. It was, completely in his mind, maybe by chance, in my mind, by hashgacha pratis. But regardless of if it was my tefillah that opened up that channel, Hashem waited for my tefillah in order for that one tiny little whatever blockage thing that was going on inside of the car. He waited until I relied on him totally to open up that line, to open up that air conditioning. Bezras Hashem, for my family to be able to use the car in much more comfort. And I'm appreciative to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that happened. And unbelievable. How much did he charge me for the whole thing? $45. He was there for around 3 hours. $45. Incredible. It should be that all of our tefillahs are answered immediately, that our das, that our consciousness should not lose its awareness that it is HaKadosh Baruch Hu that creates the future moments and creates the current moment, creates all moments. And with that consciousness, we should always continuously, deeply connect with him, rely on him, trust in him, and he should show us at every single moment how deeply he's listening, how constantly he's listening, and make us feel as though he wants to respond to all of our tefillahs, every single one of us, and all of our holy, holy brethren in Eretz Yisrael should be safe, and there should be no more wars. It should be that the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Torah and goodness should reign supreme in the world, and we should never have to see violence again.